and connected license Raj. GST, as this government has formulated, has already unleashed a tsunami of tax terrorism, and it is only going to get worse. Small, micro and medium businesses are screaming in pain. They are drowning. And Mr. Arun Jaitley, with his impeccable logic, has the nerve to go on TV every other day and tell people that things are just fine. Refuses to listen. Everybody is shouting. Every other day you see Mr. Jaitley, everything is okay, and he pulls out a graph and shows us that after 2019 things will become normal again. The way this regime is working, or not working, shall we say, has led to a double tap killing of the Indian economy. Commandos quick, closely placed shots fired at the chest to ensure that their terrorist target is down, is dead. Modi ji and his government have fired a double tap at the heart of our economy. First Notbandi, bang, and then GST, bang, has crippled our economy. And it continues. The situation of joblessness in the country is extremely worrying. The government is creating a massive army of unemployed youth, which is toxic and dangerous. Instead of admitting they cannot and are not providing jobs, they are riling communities up against each other in a bloody rage. As we all know, GDP growth has been slowing. Private investment has collapsed. Agricultural growth is at its lowest ebb. Exports have been declining. In 2014, India's GDP was growing at 6.6%. Not only are insufficient numbers of jobs being created, real wages have been stagnant for 3 years. Indian citizens cannot meet their basic expenses, leave alone spend on consumption that is required to boost our economy. Bank lending is at the lowest level in 60 years. Investment at a 15-year low. Power generation and unemployment skyrockets. And as if this was not enough, recent research by respected economists has shown that inequality in India is now at its highest level in 100 years. We are staring at a disaster. I'm not talking of technology making jobs redundant, as is happening in the West. This is a pure man-made disaster, or in Modi ji's terminology, an M. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the current mess in the economy, what I want to say here today is that the Indian economy can be revived. Under the UPA regime, between 2004 and 2011, 140 million people came out of poverty. That is 20 million people every year. For the first time in our history, for the first time ever, if it is steered correctly,
Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi there addressing a gathering at the PhD Chamber of Commerce, talking about policies of the NDA government, basically critiquing them and saying that this is tax terrorism being unleashed by the center. Traders are suffering. Notbandi and GST has crippled the economy. Let's listen in.
And we can do it again. However, no amount of growth is enough for India if it is not accompanied by the creation of jobs. It does not matter how much you grow, how fast you grow. Problem. unbelievable bureaucratic red tape it faces every single day. Let us start by accepting a simple reality, that China outperforms us in the creation of jobs. China creates 50,000 jobs every single day. India is currently creating 450. Let me repeat that. China creates 50,000 jobs every single day. India is creating 450. And let me be very clear. Capable of meeting the Chinese challenge is the network of small, micro and medium businesses. Nobody else can do this job. And I have no doubt in my mind that you are the only force that has the skills, the knowledge and the understanding to take on the Chinese. Today the national discussion is only about growth. India can no longer carry on without a clear focus and strategy on the creation of jobs. How are we going to create jobs? That is the central question in front of this country today. We need to link these small, micro and medium businesses to our banking system. We need to infuse them with credit and create a completely new deal for these businesses in finance. Today, they receive almost no bank credit, even though they account for 40% of India's economic output, and half as much credit from banks as the 10 largest companies. Even yesterday's bank recapitalization announcement, because it's only an announcement, targets only India's biggest businesses while throwing crumbs at MSMEs. Imagine how much employment we could create if we actually made capital available to you in the same way that we do for the biggest companies in this country. We urgently need to give these networks access to the political system, the same access that big business already enjoys. You too need to be heard in the corridors of power. You have been blasted by Modi's lethal double tap. My question is, why is the government treating their most powerful weapon in the fight against unemployment without dignity? Why does the government disrespect small and medium businesses and treat them like thieves? They must stop painting you as evil and must seek your cooperation in rebooting our economy. Startup India is welcome for the economy, but it cannot be accompanied by Shut Up India. What gives Startup India its strength is freedom of expression, thought and dissent. You choke this and you choke entrepreneurship. Of those in government to listen to your voice, whoever they may be. I am here today to say we trust you. We believe in you. We understand the terror you feel at the unpredictable nature of this new computerized license Raj. Your struggles are the struggles of this nation. Your pride is our pride. Your growth and well-being is the growth and well-being of and it will stand shoulder to shoulder with you as you build the foundations.
I think.
Right, so that was Rahul Gandhi there taking on the central government on the issue of economy slamming both demonetization and GST. Has, of course, also targeted Prime Minister and Finance Minister on these issues, saying that the issue really is about growth, and that's what the world's eyes are on at this point of time, taking on the central government on both demo as well as GST, saying that as far as real real wages are concerned, they have dipped, as well as the fact that jobs at this point of time are extremely scarce for those who are entering the job market, something that is not a very good situation.
That actually they work out to be anti-honest and pro-dishonest. So first question is, how would you, if you were to, your government was to come and make policies, how would you tackle that? My second question is, so for 2 years the Congress...
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
I'll stand up. Political institution. If you look at the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabhas, for all practical purposes, these institutions, they are designed to make laws. They are designed so the first step actually is a decentralization of power and an opening up of power and allowing you to access it. That's the first step. My analysis of what is going wrong today is absolute concentration of power. Difficult for all of you to access the Prime Minister's office than it is for the 10-15 biggest businesses. So that is my understanding. So the biggest step that you can take is decentralize power and create platforms, political platforms, legislative platforms with which you can communicate. That's how I think about it.
So my second point is that for 2 years the Congress...
Sorry, one last thing. Sorry, but also, and I've learnt this over the last 10 years. Listening is a very, very powerful tool in India. In fact, it overrides pretty much everything. If you go with an open mind and you go without anger or without preconceived notions and you listen, a lot of the answers are just waiting to be picked up. So that, to me, a government has to view itself as a listening system, and it has to operate should be okay, something has gone wrong, let's start a conversation on how we can quickly fix it. But the response and the attitude of the government is no. We have now stuck our neck out, we have decided that this is what it is going to be, and we are going to implement this. And then you have an accident. So the humility to accept that you can also go wrong is a very powerful thing.
Sir, two questions, quick ones. One is on GST. For 2 years the Congress argued in the Parliament that the capping of the rate should be put in the bill. What circumstances made you give up this stance? And second one is, sir, Aadhaar. This was originated in the UPA time, and the whole architecture and the backbone of Aadhaar was of a voluntary nature of disclosure. Today everything is becoming mandatory, and I think we have a huge disaster looming because the architecture was never built for something which it is being used today.
Absolutely.
And why is the opposition not screaming?
I must tell you, we fought a very brave battle, the Congress party, to get India a GST that was workable. And the basic architecture of that was minimum slabs, a cap on the amount of tax, and a simple GST. And Randeep ji is here smiling, but we gave it everything we had. Somewhere down the line, when it came close to making that decision, and we sent many messages. We sent Chidambaram ji to Mr. Arun Jaitley and said, you guys are making a mistake. I mean, this is not a Congress BJP thing. You guys are now making a mistake. with the country's economy. And we got a response saying, frankly, to put it bluntly, mind your own business. Right? You guys, it looks like we have fought to defend it, but now the country wants a GST, and so we let it go. By the way, internally we also knew that the GST had to be put in. So even after we had sort of decided, okay, we are going to support, we again sent Mr. Chidambaram and others to Mr. Jaitley and said, please run it on a pilot basis. Run it for 3 or 4 months, check what is going on, and then expand it out. And again we were told, guys, mind your own business. So we said, okay, go ahead. Again, I'm a Congress person, but I'm also, and before a Congress person, I'm an Indian person. I believe that no matter who you're dealing with, if you're a political person, you have to start with the idea of trust. I don't even like you, I still have to say, okay, I'm going to start by giving you benefit of doubt. And that was the design of the Aadhaar program. The Aadhaar program was designed and the forces that are in power today are converting it into a monitoring mechanism. That's how they visualize Aadhaar. That's just not how Aadhaar was intended. And I agree with you. It is going to have serious consequences, and also it's not going to be workable. So you will end up in the same mess that you are now with GST. You will attempt to do something that is not feasible, and then you will
Thank you for a very heartening speech. It's very good to hear from your own speech itself that this community is important in your whole scheme of things. Now, assuming that you do come back to power in 2019, could you give us insight into your thinking how trade, commerce and industry will be in the spirit that we need to, and create employment generation, because India is getting 1 million youth a month.
So that was in fact Rahul Gandhi at the PhD Chamber of Commerce, where of course he was taking questions on the economy, also targeting the centre on the same issue, saying that and alleging that the entire issue of the economy has not been managed well by the centre even as we speak.
Small business, farmers, everybody is a system. So to say that we are for this one group and not for this other group just doesn't make sense. You have to view India as a composite system that is running, and you need to balance that system. So there will be times when you need to support someone extra, and then there will be times when you can reduce that support, and it's a dynamic process. I think, as I mentioned, India has tremendous traditional skills hidden in thousands of clusters around the country. Those skills do not have access to money, they do not have access to the government system. So, providing financial support, providing governance support to those clusters and unlocking each one of those clusters. In a roundabout way, if you look in detail at what the Chinese, we cannot discount our traditional knowledge system. And you are the people who represent that system. Make in India for me is not a top-down exercise where you take all defense contracts and you hand them to certain players. Make in India for me is a bottom-up exercise where you create competition among thousands of you to create the big companies of tomorrow. and again I mentioned it there, is you're the people creating the jobs, not the people getting the financial support.